I'm 82 years old. My name is Henry Walker, and most mornings I wake up surprised that I'm still here. Not grateful exactly, just surprised. There's a quiet weight that settles on my chest before I even sit up, and it's been there for years now. People think the hardest part of old age is the body failing, the knees, the hands, the memory slipping. But for me, the hardest part is the time to think. Too much time to remember things the way they really were. I'm telling this now because I don't have much time left to lie to myself. And because there are things I wish someone like me had said out loud when I was younger. I lost $500 million after a lifetime of work. That's the part people latch onto. But that isn't the real loss. Not even close. These days my world is small. A chair by the window. A cup of tea that goes cold before I finish it. A phone that doesn't ring very often. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I've had more privilege than most people ever will. I tell it because I know how easy it is to confuse motion with meaning and success with safety. When you're my age, the future isn't something you plan for. It's something you measure in doctor visits and seasons you're not sure you'll see again. That has a way of sharpening your honesty. I used to think I understood loss. I didn't. I only understood inconvenience. I grew up in a small house with thin walls and parents who worked hard but never quite got ahead. Money was discussed in whispers, usually late at night. I learned early that security mattered, and that being needed was a kind of love. In my 20s, I was ambitious, but not reckless. That's important to say. I wasn't chasing riches for the thrill of it. I wanted stability. I wanted to never feel that quiet panic I heard in my father's voice when bills piled up. I started with a modest business. Long hours, simple deals, a lot of handshakes. I remember the smell of cheap coffee and old paper, and the feeling that if I just worked a little harder than everyone else, things would turn out fine. And they did, at least on paper. By my 30s, I was doing well enough that people started to notice. Opportunities came. Partnerships. Expansion. Each step felt logical. Responsible, even. I told myself I was building something that would last. Something my family could rely on. That story mattered to me. It made the sacrifices feel noble. I got married young. She was patient in the way only someone who believes in you can be. At first, she admired my drive. She told people she was proud of me. We had children. I was there, at the beginning. I held them. I promised myself I would do better than my own father had. But business has a way of creeping. It doesn't demand everything all at once. It asks, politely, a little at a time. One more meeting, one more trip, one more late night. Always with a good reason. I missed birthdays, but I sent gifts. I missed dinners, but I brought home stories. I missed weekends, but I told myself there would be time later. The truth is, nothing dramatic went wrong. No shouting matches. No ultimatums. Just a slow thinning of presence. By my 40s, the business had grown beyond anything I imagined. So had my reputation. People asked for my opinion. They listened when I spoke. At home, things were quieter. Not bad. Just quieta. My wife stopped waiting up for me. My kids stopped asking if I'd be home. I noticed, but I didn't panic. I told myself this was the price of providing. That's the dangerous part. When your justifications sound reasonable, the money kept growing. Investments multiplied. I wasn't flashy. I didn't buy yachts or chase headlines. I thought restraint made me wise. By my 50s, the numbers were enormous. $500 million at the peak. I remember seeing it written down and feeling strangely numb. People congratulated me. They said I'd won. I nodded, because that's what you do when people call you a success. Inside, I was always tired. Not physically. Something deeper. My wife and I talked less. Not because we fought, but because we didn't know how to reach each other anymore. She had built a life that didn't require my constant absence. I had built one that depended on it. The kids grew up. They became polite adults. Respectful. Careful. That hurt more than anger would have. The loss didn't come all at once either. People imagine a single bad deal, a betrayal, a collapse overnight. It was slower. Markets shifted. Decisions I once would have questioned, I approved because I was tired. I trusted systems instead of instincts. I told myself I could afford the risk. I told myself I had time to recover. Then came the year everything tightened at once. Liquidity dried up. Partners pulled back. Numbers that had always gone up started doing the opposite. He still didn't panic. Not really. I'd weathered storms before, but this one kept going. When the final reckoning came, it wasn't dramatic. No headlines. No courtroom scenes. Just statements, meetings, signatures. $500 million reduced to something close to nothing. Enough to live on, sure, but not enough to pretend the loss was symbolic. People disappeared quickly. That was educational. What surprised me most was how little I felt about the money itself. There was shock, yes. Embarrassment. But grief? No. The grief came later. My wife was already sick by then. Years of quiet resentment had turned into distance, and distance had turned into something unspoken. We sat together in hospitals and waiting rooms, polite and careful, like old colleagues. We talked about logistics, not feelings. When she died, I realized there were entire versions of her I never really knew. Years she lived without me, even while married to me. That realization hurt more than the financial loss ever did. My children came to the funeral. They stood close. They hugged me. They went back to their lives. I don't blame them. They built independence early. I taught them how. Now, at 82, I have time. Too much of it. I replay moments that seemed insignificant then. Turning down a trip because of a meeting. Telling myself I'd attend the next recital. Thinking presence was something you could schedule later. You can't. The money loss was loud, but temporary. The life loss was quiet and permanent. I regret believing that providing was the same as being there. I regret assuming love was patient enough to wait indefinitely. I regret thinking that because I was exhausted, I was justified. Some things don't break when neglected. They just thin out until there's nothing left to hold. I don't sit here wishing I'd made less money. That's not honest. I wish I'd understood that time was the real currency, and I spent it carelessly because I thought I had plenty. If you're listening to this, I won't tell you what to do. I don't know your life. I don't know your pressures. I only know that the moments you delay don't stack up somewhere safe. They just disappear. The people you love adapt to your absence. That adaptation looks like understanding at first. Later, it looks like distance. Success doesn't warn you when it's taking too much. It thanks you and asks for more. I'm not angry anymore. That takes too much energy. I've accepted that some losses aren't meant to be recovered from. They're meant to be lived with. My days are quiet now. I water plants. I watch the light change on the walls. Sometimes I imagine sitting across from my younger self. I don't lecture him. I don't argue. I just wish he would look up more often. There isn't a lesson that fixes this. No neat ending. Just the truth that when you reach the end, the numbers don't keep you company. Memories do. And the ones you didn't make leave a particular kind of silence. If this story touched something in you, you're welcome to leave a comment. Sometimes it helps to say things out loud. If you feel this kind of story matters, you can like it, share it with someone who might need it, or subscribe so you don't miss the next one. As for me, I've said what I needed to say. The rest of my time is my own now, and there isn't much of it. Just the truth that when you reach the end, the numbers don't keep you company. Memories do, and the ones you didn't make leave a particular kind of silence. If this story touched something in you, you're welcome to leave a comment. Sometimes it helps to say things out loud. If you feel this kind of story matters, you can like it, share it with someone who might need it, or subscribe so you don't miss the next one. As for me, I've said what I needed to say. The rest of my time is my own now, and there isn't much of it.